call to order.
Roll call for the City Council meeting of Wednesday, December 5th, 2018 at 9 a.m. Mrs. Arrington, Ms. Allen, Ms. Kwiatkowski, Mrs. Schaaf, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon. Please rise for a moment of silent meditation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Madam President, I would like to have a moment of silence for our former President Bush, who passed away, and for our firefighter Mary Wolski, who died last week as well. Thank them for their service, and rest in peace.
Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of minutes from the City Council meeting of November 21st, 2018, and bills for payment on November 30th and December 7th, 2018. Ms. Allen, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mrs. Schaaf, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mrs. Arrington.
Is there anyone here for repository sales? Is there anyone here for repository sales? Last call for repository sales. That takes us to citizens to be heard.
Season's greetings, Erie City Council, Mayor Chambers Administration, and fellow citizens. First and foremost, I'd like to pay my respect to the first female firefighter family, Mary Wojciechowski, that passed away. I'd like to send my condolences to her family at this time. I just would like to read this letter I got whenever I was 18 years ago. I was a student at Our Lady of Mount Carmel, and we were doing something extraordinary. We had our student council organized for the first time in my class. And I would say I was the campaign manager for the first student council president. And Madam President, she was a female. We had a first female student council president. Now I know I'm a committee member with the Erie County Democrat Party, but I think this letter I wrote 18 years ago goes along with what's happening in Washington, D.C. I'm going to let the man's words speak for itself. Dear young friend, thank you for your thoughtful messages. It tells me a lot about you. I appreciate that you took the time to share your ideas with me. We are fortunate to live in a free country and to have so many opportunities. However, we also have a responsibility to meet the needs of our society and our changing world. Youth is no barrier to great achievements. You have the capacity and capability to help brighten the world today, as well as to fulfilling your hopes and dreams for tomorrow. I urge you to study hard and to become an informed and caring citizen at home and in school, at your place of worship, and in your community. With determination and dedication, you can make a difference in our great nation, now and in the future. Keep up the good work, and God bless you. Sincerely, George H. Walker Bush. Now, I was the only one to receive this letter. And 18 years ago, I was hoping for a kinder, gentler, inclusive Erie. We've changed in the past 18 years. And I hope today, moving forward, that we do have that spirit of civic engagement, working together inclusively to agree to disagree and to make sure that our nation and our city is kinder, is gentler, and more loving and more welcoming. In the past 18 years, ever since I wrote this letter to George Bush, I've seen hate. I've seen negativity. I've heard lies. I've heard so many things that I want to discover the truth. And the truth is, we do have a kinder and gentler community. And individuals as yourself that do public service is the paramount paradigm what we have today. We have individuals from all walks of life serving, not just in a public capacity, but in schools, and in courthouses, in the trenches in Iraq and Afghanistan, and across the globe, serving for one purpose, that we all are created equal, that we have equitable participation in our society and community. And as right now in Washington, D.C., we are laying to rest the 41st President of the United States. And as we lay to rest former Senator John McCain, everyone is saying that the era of the greatest generation is over. I don't think it's over, because we were taught and educated and informed to be kinder, to be loving, to be welcoming, and to be the best citizens we can be. Thank you so much. Morning.
There's one down at the bottom there,
The
Mel.
one down at the bottom?
Yeah.
Oh, that was stupid.
No, not stupid.
Thank you. Give it to her.
Your entertainment career is not. We're gonna go with Plan B here.
This one?
We're gonna go with Plan C.
Thank you, Ed.
My name is Rhonda Pearson. I came to speak on a house next door to me.
Excuse me, can we have your address too, hon?
My address is 546 West 3rd Street. And the address I'm speaking on is 538 and a half West 3rd Street. The sidewalks are messed up, and it's hard for people in wheelchairs to even get down them, because I'm afraid to flip over, and I'm not always with somebody when I'm down the street. And I was trying to see if I can get it repaired.
Ma'am, is that just a one-house radius of sidewalk, or is it the whole block, or is it half a block, or what?
It's not a whole block.
Is it one of those brick sidewalks, or is it a regular cement sidewalk?
It's a cement.
And it's like raised up or something, and has anybody reported it to code enforcement, do you know?
I don't know.
We will.
We'll follow up, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Johnny R. Campbell. I live at 1057 West 6th Street. I was down here about 2 months ago with the same complaint about my driveway. Remember, do you all remember that? I didn't hear from, you said you were looking in for me? You on the end there.
Yes.
You said you was gonna look into it for me, but I didn't get any calls. And I read the ordinance, and it doesn't say anything about,
Excuse me, Ms. Campbell, can you repeat your address? Because some of us didn't hear your
oh,
address.
1057 West 6th Street. And it didn't say anything on here about driveways. And it didn't say anything about my street. Because some people on my street have 2 cars and they don't have they don't have long driveways, put 2 cars in. And the other side, the north side of the street, have to park on the south side. I live on the south side of the street. And the north people have to park, and they have visitors coming in, and they have to park on that street. And sometimes there are not enough parking spaces, And my daughter, she's afraid to park there now because she was parked there that day when the meter maid come out. The meter maid got her license plates, and I ran out and asked her what she was doing. She said that she wasn't supposed to park the driveway. And I said to her, "This is my driveway." She said, "That doesn't matter." She said, "You can't even block your driveway." Now, I have asked people in church all over. They never heard of this before. And Mr. Mercy was sitting up there that day when I asked this question, and he the one wrote the ordinance out. He didn't say a word when I was here the other time. I know he's gone now, but can you all do anything? I know the street department does this. They sends out the meter maids and they do all of this, Can any of you do anything to, if it's not true, that I can block my driveway? Because, like I get visitors, they come, and I don't want them to walk from around the block somewhere in the driveway right there. And my car's in the driveway. I just have one driveway, enough for my car. When I first moved there, I didn't even have a driveway. So I had to put it up. I had trouble putting that in then, you know what I mean? But Mr. Bagnoni was on the council down here, and they all vouched for me to have that driveway put in. I had to use half of my front yard, to put a driveway in to get my car off the street. Is there anything that you can tell the street people?
Ed? have you-
Madam President, I did talk to the parking authority, and I talked to Attorney Betza about the problem, but the way the ordinance is written, and the attorney will probably want to comment on that.
Okay.
If we were to change the ordinance, that's probably what we'd have to do. But,
It was just written up this year.
well, it was modified, but that's an old ordinance, I think, right, Mr. Betza?
It is. The ordinance prohibits blocking a driveway. It makes no distinction on who owns the driveway, but you're not permitted to park on the street and block a driveway. If council wanted to do, that's pretty typical. I'm not aware of any municipality that I've ever read an ordinance on parking that allows you to block a driveway. You have the legal authority that you could change the ordinance and allow people to block their own driveway. That would limit access Legally, it's okay. It's probably, it would restrict access. I'm not sure that it would be well received by fire departments and police departments because it may affect safety. And that's typically why we keep those areas open. But as the ordinance is currently written, you're not permitted to block any driveway, whether you own it or not.
Why am I the only one target? No, everybody else blocked their driveways. They never heard of anything like this before. When I tell them about this, they think I'm crazy. They said they never heard of this. I never heard of this year. And this was signed on March the 7th, 2018.
What you're
And I've
referring,
been living there ever since 1976.
the residential parking, and I don't know specifically when that regulation went in, but the parking ordinances date back from '74. There was a major amendment in 1988. These restrictions go back many, many years. Recently, council did make an amendment this year, but that dealt with fines, what the costs were, not about whether or not you could or could not block a driveway. You have not been permitted to block a driveway for many, many years.
I know I can't block anybody else's driveway, but it's never been told to me that I can't block my own driveway.
I would think, ma'am, from my experience, that somebody turned you in because
For what?
somebody had a problem with it and turned you in because they usually, my experience is they don't usually go around tagging everybody for everything. You know, they get a lot of double parking. But if you would like, you and I can get together. We'll walk. We'll go down to Parking Authority. I'll meet you there, or we can go up there and argue your case and see if talk to them why you were singled out. Okay. But I do know, like I've seen people all over the city. Sometimes they're blocking them. They really don't. It's usually what triggers an incident is somebody either complained or, because it's never been my experience that they generally tag. We got people doing all kinds of crazy parking things. Now, they do get odd even parking quite a bit. But if you'd like, I'll go with you. I'll give you I can get my phone number from Rose here, and I will come I'll take you to the next Parking Authority meeting.
Madam President, may I ask a question? Ms. Campbell, are you blocking the apron? So let's say a little toddler on a tricycle or a person on a bicycle or roller skates. So is your car parking so that they have to go in the street around your car?
No. My car is parked in my driveway. My daughter's car was blocking my driveway. It was set right behind my driveway, But all cars parked on the street. So what the difference if you park in my driveway right there at the street, and all other cars that is on the street too. So this girl told me I couldn't park there until after 4 o'clock. Now, my street is not even on the ordinance at all. And I don't see on here where you can block the driveway. I see they got certain places you can't block the driveway. I know that. I know you can't block anybody else's driveway. That's illegal. And I even have people block the people come pick up the kids from school. Sometimes they block my driveway. I don't say anything because I know they're picking up the kids from out there at school. But this is one law that I guess you call it a law. I don't know what it is. I know my time is up. But I'm going to get your telephone number.
I'll come over right now.
Okay, thank you.
And while we were talking, I was able to pull it up. It's section 521.01.
Yeah.
No person shall stand or park a vehicle in front of a public or private driveway. That provision dates back to March 4th, 1964.
And then, the opposite side, let me say this. On the north side of my street, there is no parking at all. We just have the one side parking.
Right, odd even parking is done by a separate regulation, and as a general parking rule, no one is permitted to block a public or private driveway. Odd even parking is a separate section, a separate ordinance. Since 1964 at least, and it may predate that, but at least since 1964, the city has said you cannot block a public or private driveway.
Why am I getting it now? I've been living there ever since 1976, and this is I just started this in September this year.
And that's what you're gonna look at. I'm just telling you what the rules say. I don't do any of the
I
enforcement.
hope this rule can be changed.
So.
I hope so. Come on, sir. Thank you. Think about it, council. Do the right thing.
It was refreshing to hear a little dialogue between a citizen and council. My name's Richard Wagner, 4228 State Street, Erie. A wise man once told me that if you watch sausage being made, you wouldn't want to eat it. Monday night, I tuned into the budget sessions, and I got a good look at sausage being made. And you people are trying to force me into eating it. Council is not being asked to balance the budget. Council's task is to approve a spending plan that, because of contractual agreements, contains, on average, a yearly 4% rise in cost. You can't do it. Numbers don't lie. As we try to attract businesses and people to our city, anyone contemplating doing either would just have to look at the last year and what has transpired. County passed a law where landlords can no longer ask basic questions of people wanting to move into their buildings. We dumbed up the marijuana laws, where an ounce is a misdemeanor and a few grams over an ounce can get you in trouble. We created a quality of life ticketing program where a yet-to-be-hired staff is going to be charged with writing tickets throughout our community. Millions in traffic fines, trash, sewer, and water bills go uncollected, coupled with 1,300 homes that were put on sheriff's sale in September. That sure seems attractive. Add a failing school district, a failing sewer infrastructure, and no money for roads, we are only kidding ourselves if we think people are going to choose Erie to live, work, and play in. I attended 2 sessions to discuss community benefit agreements. Let me be honest with you. If you have 2 communities, and all being equal, except Erie has CBAs and the other community vying for the same project doesn't, we know who will be awarded the project. And if you don't understand, it's not Erie. Construction jobs and being in on the ground floor are short-lived. The goal of that group should be to establish fair and equal representation on the workforce created in each and every project coming Erie's way. Our goal should always be careers with family-sustaining wages. Once again, the administration wants to give alerta to the entire city. The housing market in our fair city is on the verge of collapse. Land banks, blighted properties, failing home values, and now you want to provide a tax-free status for any new construction projects taking place in the city. I have a unique idea I would like to present to you. Let's provide the LRTA tax break to all new construction, along with the same tax break provided to any real estate in Erie that is seriously changing hands. You have to investigate that it is changing hands. It would create for the established homeowner a chance to get the real value for their property and compete with any new structures being built. It only seems fair. An established home can never begin to capture its real value in a climate where some homes are tax-free and others aren't. If you did this, it would also help with the marginal homes. I think we would see a big boon in the remodeling of those marginal homes I spoke of. Maybe a land bank wouldn't be needed. It sounds a little bit like a stretch, but you have to do something to help the long-established families of this fine community feel that they haven't been forgotten and that 30 years ago when they established in the city that it was a good investment and not a big financial mistake. One other thing I'd like to just mention. that seventh seat up there, if you're serious about saving money, it's $6,000 and a health care plan. That's probably $22,000 or $23,000 you could save. And in May, we'll know who the people want to sit in that seventh seat because there is an election coming up. So maybe this rush to find somebody, you know, I know it'll create a tie situation, but it'll still lead to you need 4 votes to get what you want, what the mayor needs. So think about that. Thank you for your time, and I hope you all have a happy holiday.
Madam Chair, I just want to thank Mr. Wagner for being here. Most of us don't know that he was dealing with some serious health issues. He hasn't been here for quite a while, and I hope you're feeling better, Mr. Wagner.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen of council. I'm Mark Wilmoth, and I work for Building Inspection Underwriters, and I do the rental inspections for the city. And I wanted to talk about the proposal of the 4-year extension for properties. Now, right now, what we're doing is the rental inspections are, the way the program is set up is to have an inspection of all the rental units every 2 years. Section 8 are done by Section 8 people, but any other unit that is not Section 8 is done by us. And it's a safety check, and it's all about the tenants. The proposal is to say a rental unit would get 100% approval, and then another 100% approval, they would be allowed to go 4 years without another inspection. And with that, the landlord would get a reduction in the fees for the rental program during that time. I think that 4 years is just too long to wait for an inspection. Like I said, the inspections are for the safety of the tenants, and sometimes tenants need our guidance and our help. I can't tell you how many times I've walked into rental units with a good landlord and will find incense stuck in a door jamb, dripping on the carpet, or even stuck in an outlet, dripping on a carpet. There are safety issues that come up all the time that we should be checking on a regular basis. I tell you, tis the season of me waking up on Sunday morning and opening up the ads and seeing all these ads saying, oh good, we have space heaters for $19.99. And people will be rushing up to Ollie's and buy 5 or 6 of those space heaters and put them around their house, turn off the gas furnace, and it just creates a tremendous danger in that house. And we go in, make sure that the permanent heat source is working, and to make sure that the safety of that house is intact. So it's important that we get in and see the things that are happening with these tenants. Some things are not tenant related. I was just in a house last week where 2 years ago there was no mention of the flue pipe in the basement. The flue pipe comes off of either the furnace or the hot water tank, goes in the chimney, takes the flue gases, the carbon monoxide up into the chimney and out. 2 years ago, there was no mention of it, but when I went down there last week, it was totally rotten through. It was rusted through, exposed to the air, and the landlord had no idea. We went down, we saw it, we realized we had to fix this. I went back in 5 days to make sure that that flue pipe was taken care of. This house had no carbon monoxide detectors in it, and it had a carbon monoxide issue that after 4 years, that flue pipe could have been seriously damaged and maybe not even made it to that point before someone was hurt. So it's important that, again, we're about the tenant safety. Now, I understand good landlords, you know, they're asking for a break, and I can appreciate that as well. I feel that if you want to give good landlords a break for their 100% units, that's, you know, go for it. But I think that we should be going back every 2 years and looking at even the best properties, because a lot can happen in 4 years. So I think it would be the best of both worlds, give a discount to the landlords for the good units and making sure that we're there to check the safety for the tenants. I want to let you know that BIU and I I are available to you to talk to and to go through things and to go over things. We'd love to be involved and as we continue to do this program. That said, thank you so much, folks, for your hard work for this great city that we live in. I appreciate it very much, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Are there any more citizens to be heard? Are there any more citizens to be heard? Last call for citizens to be heard. That takes us to ordinance for final passage.
Council file number 16059, official ordinance number 50/2018, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $18,801.67 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue to be received as a program income generated by Enterprise Zone Revolving Loan Fund for utilization in the flagship fund. By Mr. Kwiatkowski and seconded by Mrs. Shaw, the council file ordinance bill number 16059, and now known as official file ordinance number 50/2018, be finally passed by the city council. Ms. Allen, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mrs. Shaw, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mrs. Arrington. City council passed official file ordinance number 50/2018 finally by a 6 nays 0. That'll take us into new business.
Madam President,
Yes.
vote to move the balance.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Are there any separations?
All right, voting to move the balance of the agenda, Ms. Allen, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mrs. Shaw, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Witherspoon, Mrs. Arrington. We do have some waive rules. Three items that didn't make the agenda. Item number 1. Our resolution for the increase in the compensation of council and council president. Voting to waive the rules, Ms. Allen, Mr. Kwiatkowski.
No.
I'm sorry, no.
No for me, too.
Okay. Mrs. Shaw,
No.
Mr. Winarski,
No.
Mr. Witherspoon, Mrs. Arrington. All right, this waive rules will pass. 0 ayes to 4 nays. Second waive rules is increase in the salary of the city treasurer. Voting to waive the rules, Ms. Allen,
No.
Mr. Kwiatkowski,
No.
Mrs. Shaw,
No.
Mr. Winarski,
No.
Mr. Witherspoon, Mrs. Arrington. Sorry, I forgot those last time. Okay, this motion is adopted by ayes 2, nays 4. And one more resolution to increase the compensation of the city controller. Voting to waive the rules, Ms.
No.
Allen,
No.
Mr. Kwiatkowski,
No.
Mr. Mursky, Mr. Mursky is now resigned. Mrs. Shaw,
No.
Mr. Winarski,
No.
Mr. Witherspoon, Mrs. Arrington. And this motion will pass ayes 2, nays 4. That'll take us to committee reports, Madam President.
We'll start with Liz.
I attended the special Erie School Board meeting on Saturday because I wanted to hear the presentation on the district's long-range building upgrade plan and how it will be financed. There was also discussion about the LRTA. I think it's important to keep in mind the school board's plan to raise property taxes as we talk about the City of Erie budget, and to understand the factors that led to the district's financial distress and the plans for financial recovery. It's my understanding that the school board, a school board committee is going to meet again on Friday to talk about the LRTA. On the budget, this isn't really a committee report, except that we've all been a committee as a whole working on the budget. I wanted to say we're in the midst of an amazing movement to transform Erie under transformational mayor and his team. I am disappointed that not all, but several department heads have used the budget study sessions to plead for us not to freeze management wages. I would have expected that with an $11 million deficit, the top managers at City Hall would be eager to offer up ideas on how to curb expenses and/or increase revenue, especially because the 2005 early intervention report stressed that management had to lead the way and show by example how to tighten finances. However, I want to say I am happy that citizens of Erie have stepped up in phone calls and emails to offer ideas on the budget. These citizens recognize that we are in a tough spot and they want to help. I've listened to their ideas and added them to my own list of ideas. And I think one of the interesting and kind of amazing things is that, at least for me, I'm not hearing from people who are saying just, well, do this, just chop this, do this. It's basically a recognition that the city's finances are very tight, and I think there's some creative ideas that have been offered. I also want to thank the 51 people who have applied for an open seat on Erie City Council. I really do think this reflects the attitude in our city that they want to contribute to our effort to not only address our current financial issues, but to generate ideas on how to grow jobs, improve our neighborhoods, and make Erie inclusive and just. And we are going through the process of how to move forward on that. And I believe that we have 30 days to fill that seat. That's by law, so I don't think we're going to try and not fill that seat. And if we're talking about votes, I think we need a 7-member person in terms of, unless we want to have tie votes a lot of times going forward. So I think we need 7 people on council as the law provides. I had some concerns about the Port Authority going forward on the proposed demolition of the McAllister building on the Bayfront. Kathy Schaaf has been working to set up some kind of meeting with Brenda Sandberg, who has graciously offered to meet with us. And on Monday, I attended for a brief time, then had to go pick up my husband who was singing at a funeral. So I was in and out of this press conference, but I hope everybody saw the news story about the $5 million Erie Inclusive Fund, which is a combination of money from ECRA and also from Bridgeway Capital. The press conference was at the Learning Ladder Child Care Center, which is in the old, people identify it as the old Forward Hall, but if you're really old, remember it as the old Utman Corps building. It's a minority-owned business, very lively there, but there is going to be capital investment now for minority entrepreneurs. And I think this is a really good step forward. We have to make sure that there's a lot of communication about how to apply for this capital. It's one of the things we've looked at what Cincinnati has done to revitalize its downtown. Cincinnati actually has a minority-focused innovation district. I think it's called Mortar, and I think this might be the first of many steps that can be taken to make our city more inclusive and just, and encourage entrepreneurs. It's hard to get that capital, so thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam President. I attended the Housing Authority meeting and under the directions of Mr. Mike Fraley. It's doing quite well. They will be preparing a check in lieu of taxes and presenting it to the city as well as the school district. The Housing Authority and their police department have a record. They kind of broke a record as far as solving crimes and working with the residents like no other. They're doing a fine job, and like kudos go out to Mr. Fraley, his staff, and the board of directors. Thank you.
No committee reports. Just wanted to comment. We did have those 3 waive the rules regarding possible pay increases for actually elected positions here at City Hall, treasurer, controller, and council. Although the day is going to come, I'm definitely going to be for it, not for myself as much as for future people who are serving the city, but it's something that hasn't been, it's been talked about, but hasn't been looked at deep enough to compensate for how the city has grown over the last 20, 30 years. These positions have had the same salary for many, many, many years. So although it's been brought before us today, it doesn't mean it's a dead issue. We got to get through this budget, which is a very important budget, like every budget is, but got to get through this budget, get through with the new appointment on council, and then maybe after the first year, revisit this and see where we can go from there. Thank you.
Kathy.
Thank you, Madam President. I was so happy to go to the Housing Authority meeting to see Mel Witherspoon be dedicated with a wonderful plaque that stated how wonderful he is for the Spoons Basketball League. And someone took pictures, so I hope mine didn't really turn out, Mel, I'm sorry. But that was such a nice serendipity because I had the day off that day, so I just happened to show up. But I'm so glad that they honored you in a special way. Mr. Wagner, I don't get health insurance. There's a lot of people that say that. That's something I would have to buy into, and I get health insurance through my husband's work. So I don't know. Some people are under the assumption that we get free health insurance, and we don't. I went to breakfast at the Zodiac Diner on Sunday, and as we were walking in, the new owners of a new business right next to the Zodiac on State Street there near 26th Street, Water Control Systems, and I met the owners, Brian Ulbrich, who lived down south in one of the Carolinas, and he came back to Erie. So if you have a problem with your basement, he gave me his card. So I thought that was super great that we have people returning from the south coming back to Erie. So there are positives out there. I have to make a new appointment for the Blighted Property Review Committee, and I'm taking applications of interest through this Friday, and it has been on the city website, and I have been getting a lot of people, so that's another good positive that people want to volunteer. It's a volunteer once a month showing up. And my email is kschaaf, KSCHAAF, @erie.pa.us. And two things. When I was brushing the car off this morning, I heard on the radio that a young boy believed he could make a difference. And he and his young brother, a 4-year-old, went to the council, not Erie,
and they had a snowball ordinance that you couldn't throw snowballs. So he did a little research and got in front of everybody and said, you know, going outside is very healthy. And he talked about how studies have shown that not going outdoors and being active is preventing, if you don't go outside, you could be at high risk for diabetes later, and said some other things about your health. And he believed he could make a difference, and he did. They overturned the snowball ordinance, and he and his brother were the first ones to go outside and throw some snowballs without getting in trouble. At our stairway at school going down into the library, the door is decorated and it says, "Only pass through if you believe." And then it's all decorated so beautifully downstairs in the library. And we have to believe in ourselves. We have to believe that we can make a difference. That's why I ran for city council, because I believed I could make a difference. The budget is online, and people can access it online or get a copy. And it costs $7,934 to completely outfit a firefighter. I'm the liaison for the firefighters. And my father was a policeman back in the day. And today, to outfit a police officer with all of their needed equipment is $2,921.75. And we do take money from people in institutions for certain things. And I was just wondering if people out there thought, hey, I love firefighters, I love our police officers, and they could gift money towards something, towards cars, for fire trucks, for outfitters. Thank you.
Yes.
Mrs. Schaaf, the Sisters of Mercy are one such group that every year give to police, fire, and public works, and do it without coercion every year. We attended the O&E pension meeting. The fund is progressing well, although pensions are a source of constant monitoring at the city. Some changes will have to be made in the future to realistically address issues going forward, but right now they're doing very well. We had a meeting with the vendors due to council's insistence that all departments, not the treasurer's office, notwithstanding, they're separate. The issues we had around here were collection procedures on everything from garbage to parking tickets has been rather not well done over the years. So the latest venture is we've gone into looking at what to do with the growing deficit in the parking fines. And along with Attorney Betza and the committee, we are meeting. I'll report to council after all the vendors we meet with. And there will be a plan to how to address collecting some of these and moving forward what to do, whether there needs to be a change in ordinance or whatever. I myself am not happy anytime we don't do our job here and collect revenue. The treasurer is waiting to collect the money. All we have to do is provide it. So going forward, every department should be on notice that where you collect revenue for the city, you will be monitored. It was with sadness last night, and it's why when we go forward with the budget, we should be cognizant that a local business last night just laid off 1/3 of their workforce. A company that's so prominent that you can ride anywhere in the Commonwealth, even in Allentown, and their mayor bragged about how every time a building went up or a piece of steel, it said Amthor Steel on it. When my daughter attended Duquesne, it was Amthor Steel that built the dormitories. So it's with regret, but also with an attentiveness to realize that what we're facing is a community that's losing jobs. And we have to be, when we vote on this budget, we have to think long and hard what we're doing. And some of us are going to have to lead by example. That's why I didn't vote for the pay raises. I think, I ran for public office to serve the people. And yes, I know how much a job paid. And yes, I know there are discrepancies, but I was proud to wear the title of controller, and I'm proud to wear the title of city councilman. But looking forward, I have to lead by example. I can't ask people in City Hall to take cuts or freezes that I'm not willing to take myself. It was the first edict I learned when I was a NCO promoted in the Army. You lead by example and you take care of your people. And that's what, we're going to have to make some tough decisions, but we need to be cognizant that there are people out there losing their jobs. And there are people out there that are thinking long and hard about where they want to move out of the city. So whatever decision we make in the next week or so, we have to keep that all in mind. These are tough times, and it's going to take a lot of political courage and a lot of common sense to get through this. Thank you, Madam President.
I just want to say we are working with a very tough budget, probably one of the toughest budgets that we ever worked with. And one thing that I want the citizens to know is that when we're doing this budget, trying to make the cuts that need to be made, we're thinking about you all. Because one thing you have to understand is whatever affects you, it affects us too, because we live here in the city of Erie. So we have some tough decisions to make, and I applaud all my colleagues for us working together. I applaud the mayor's office for us all trying to work together and do the right thing so we don't have to raise taxes, because we know there's a lot of people out there, the seniors on fixed income. We know that we have a lot of poverty in our community, and raising the taxes isn't the answer. So we're trying to look up other ways, other ideals. So just know that we're working very hard so we don't have to raise taxes. And with that said, Teresa?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch upon, you guys approved the transfer for the water reserve money, which is the annual 4% that you give back to the city out of that fund. So since you guys approved that, I'll start the process of getting that transferred into the city accounts to pay for the capital improvements. That's it.
So you have anything?
Good morning. The dog renewal licenses have gone out, so I encourage everybody to get their dogs licensed. You can download the application on the city's website if you did not get a renewal. You only have a couple weeks left to pay your property taxes for 2018. That's all I've got. My office is always available across the hall.
Okay.
Thanks.
Renee?
I just want to draw everybody's attention to, yesterday was the first public plans display of the alternatives for the Bayfront Parkway changes or upgrades. And it was from 12 to 8 yesterday, but there's going to be another opportunity for people to go from 12 to 8 on December 11th at the Russian Orthodox Church of the Nativity Community Center, which is at 109 German Street. I really encourage people to go. There are 3 different alternatives that are being proposed for the intersections at Holland, State, and the Bayfront Parkway, and Sassafras. And, they're looking for input from residents. So I encourage everybody to try to get there. Thank you.
Just one comment. There was discussion about not filling the seat. This is a 7-member council. You can't unilaterally change that without significant action. So you need to fill that seat. You have a legal obligation to fill that seat. That's all.
Okay. Thank you. And that adjourns our council meeting.
City Council adjourns at 10:07. Mrs. Arrington, Ms. Allen, Mr. Kwiatkowski, Mrs. Schaaf, Mr. Winarski, Mr. Whitaker.
Well, you had nobody applying.